You have an hour and you cannot decide what to open. Some games need you to reconstruct where you were, what you were doing, why any of it mattered, before you can do anything at all. And by the time you've remembered enough to play, the session already feels compromised. The problem is not the time, it's the game. 4 games, different genres, different moods with different demands. One question that connects them, not whether they are good, but whether they earn the session you're actually bringing to them. That is what this channel is about. Not whether a game is worth playing, whether it is the right game for the kind of session you actually have. Every game here is built around something that contains itself. A run that ends, a day that turns over, a mission with a result. You can put any of these down at the end of your session and feel like the time was spent, not interrupted. Most games are not built this way. Slay the Spire is a deck-building roguelike. Each run is a climb up a procedurally generated tower, building a card deck along the way, fighting increasingly difficult enemies and making every decision count. Runs sit comfortably inside 30 to 60 minutes, though how fast you play shifts that. When a run ends, it ends completely. A result screen, a summary, and a clean moment where the game has stopped asking anything of you. The design that makes this work is simple. You start every run with nothing. There is nothing to reconstruct, no strategy from 3 weeks ago to piece back together, no half-forgotten plan to honour before you can do anything new. Even after a long gap, you're back at the start of a fresh run within 30 seconds. It is worth flagging, though, that this is also the game most likely to cost you one more run you had not planned for, but that is a different problem, and a decent one to have. What the game does not announce up front is a tactical depth underneath the card selection. Some enemies deal damage back when you attack them, so knowing when to hold cards, when to wait for a vulnerability window, and when to protect your health rather than press the offense is the actual skill. The screen gives you everything you need to read this. The game doesn't spell it out. That's the kind of nuance that only reveals itself through play, and finding it is a specific kind of satisfaction. It rewards the same instinct old PC strategy players know well, reading a system of constraints and finding the move that holds them together. When your brain is present, 45 minutes here can feel like 45 minutes genuinely well spent. But when it's not, save it. This game will not forgive distracted play. Now Hades, that's different. It gives you something to follow even when you're not at your sharpest. That matters on a lot of the sessions most of us actually have. Hades is an action roguelike set in the Greek underworld. You play Zagreus, trying to escape, fighting through procedurally generated chambers, collecting upgrades, learning patterns, dying and returning. It's a bash and crash combat game at its core, but the combat is wrapped up in a level of character, humour and world building that makes the whole thing land differently to other action games. Attempts often sit inside 30 to 60 minutes, and when you die, the game doesn't end, it continues. You return to the hub, the story advances in small increments, and there's a clear, natural moment to decide, one more attempt, or that's enough for now. What separates Hades from other action games is what each run ending means. Dying is not a setback, it's a session boundary. Frustration, though, still surfaces. You will die on runs you felt you had under control, and that stings. But the story pulling forward absorbs it. There's always a conversation waiting, always something that moved on while you were in the underworld, and that momentum is what keeps a failed run from feeling like wasted time. The re-entry cost is therefore excellent. You have your upgrades intact, and the game exactly where you left it. Coming back after a week costs little, though if the action mechanics have rusted slightly, give yourself one more run to find your feet before expecting much of yourself. One honest note, though, this is a switched-on game. The action requires reflex and attention, and on a tired session it can tip from satisfying into effortful. So know what kind of session you are having before you start a run. Now if it's a tired one, and something quieter with less to fight against is in order, Dredge is your answer. Dredge is a fishing game with a dark undercurrent. You run a small fishing vessel between island communities, catching fish, completing requests, and uncovering the coastal world's quiet strangeness. The natural rhythm is to fish until dark, then return to port and sell your catch. The port then is your stopping point, something cleaner than an in-game day timer. The game holds its day cleanly until the next time you open it. This is a tired evening game. The cognitive demand is low, the atmosphere is high, and the loop, cast, catch, return, is forgiving without being hollow. But Dredge is not as gentle as it looks. The world has a darkness to it that surfaces at unexpected moments. Enough to catch you off guard, enough to get your heart going when you are not expecting it. That quality is what separates it from a passive experience. The loop is moorish in the way the best low-friction games are, and sessions fill themselves without you noticing, and putting it down requires a decision you will not always make when you plan to. The state is clean when you come back, harbour where you left it, catch logged, upgrades intact. Now if Hades and Dredge represent the focus session and the quiet one, Into the Breach is something else entirely. Into the Breach is a tactical game. 3 mechs, grid-based maps, and alien creatures trying to reduce cities to rubble while you try to stop them. It puts you in mind of an 8-bit game, and it's certainly not a looker, but that is not its job. Each mission takes between 15 and 30 minutes, and the game is built entirely around contained tactical puzzles. Each island you are deployed to is a sequence of those missions, and when one ends, it ends. No ambiguity, no dangling thread. So if Slay the Spire is the game for a proper hour, Into the Breach is the game for that 25 minutes you did not know you had. A mission is a complete thing, you finish it, check the time and decide. One more or done. Both choices feel clean, which is rarer than it should be. There is also no ticking clock on your missions. You can take as long as you need on a run, but the game is designed so that you rarely need long. The satisfaction is elsewhere, in reading the grid correctly, in watching an enemy miss and a well-placed shove send it into the water to drown. Each failed mission makes you want to come back and do it better, and the ability to pick slightly easier missions when you need a foothold is a small kindness the game gives you as you learn. One other thing worth knowing, when a campaign fails, the game resets the timeline. A narrative device that frames loss as a reason to try again rather than a reason to stop. Sometimes you can carry the pilots you have trained into the next attempt. Sometimes, if they die before the reset, you can't. It is a gimmick of sorts, a story reason to keep going rather than a blunt continue screen. The re-entry cost is low. The strategy layer between missions takes about 30 seconds to reconstruct, and the one caveat stands. The game requires your full attention. It is not a half-watching something else game. So 4 games. Each one earns the session you bring to it. Each one lets you stop cleanly when the time is up, without leaving you feeling like you abandoned something in the middle. The question this channel asks is not whether a game is good, it is whether it is the right game for the kind of session you actually have. These 4 pass that test. Not for every session, but for some of the kinds you will have, and reliably. Slay the Spire if you want to think. Hades if you want immersion with a story pulling you forward. Dredge if you want atmosphere at a slower pace. And Into the Breach if you have half an hour and want every minute to mean something. An hour is a real session when the game is built to respect its edges.